Scott Arfield was the last player. Before Wednesday night, Scott Arfield was the last player to score against Motherwell at Fir Park before Rangers went there on Wednesday night. And what a Scott Arfield run and finish it was from Nico Raskin. And what a Scott Arfield run and assist it was from Mohamed Diamandi. Scott Arfield scored a hat-trick for us at Fir Park once, didn't he? He scored a hat-trick against Motherwell from a hat-trick of Jermaine Defoe assists. How glorious does that sound? How gorgeous is that memory? In isolation, because we didn't win anything that season. Scott Arfield got that hat-trick at Fir Park, and we're still in with a major chance of winning 2 trophies this season. But aye, absolutely disgusted. So sick of it. It's the same old. There's promise after promise made. It's going to be different this time. It's going to be different yet from when the moment comes, when it all gets down to it, it's a repeat of the kind of tired, half-arsed nonsense that we've been seeing for years on end. Yes, I did, again, on Wednesday night, put out a podcast that was tired, far too slow, far too long, and very much out of sync. So I understand having tried to put out a podcast for every Rangers game, previewing every Rangers game this season and reacting to every Rangers game this season. I know exactly how knackered the squad are after this weekend midweek routine that they've been going through since the summertime. But I also know that if I was to get somebody else in, they'd be much better at the podcast than me. They're far more skilled, and they would have to give me a break, to give me some assistance with the pod. If I got somebody else in to do the Fat Egg pod, just to give me a couple of weeks off or whatever like that, they certainly have better technical ability. The camera would be fine and all that. If they brought their own stuff, but would they be able to get into the flow? Who would want to get into the flow of what I'm doing? A bit like who would want to get into the flow of Rangers being so crap for the past few years. But they would still take a while to pick it up. It really would take a lot of getting used. Right, Alex, so you do all these mad stats mixed up with really pathetic, tenuous kind of analogies and metaphors, and you talk really slowly and you send folk to sleep and they just listen to you out of pity. It takes a while to pick up the kind of skills. So I understand why the squads, albeit they're really tired now, it wasn't time just to bring in all the new guys. And plus, it was an injury as well, a slight injury, a twinge for Ryan Nadiri. But it's still not going to cut ice with a lot of folk. How you doing, folks? This is your Fatec ovation after a 3-0 loss to Norwegians in Europe, hounded after a 1-1 draw at a rival we've beaten only once in 2 years, and that once was under Danny Röhl, and who haven't conceded at home since before Danny Röhl took over as Rangers manager. We've just played the most attractive footballing side in the top flight this season. We're now going to play the most effective football side in the top flight this season in a bid to eventually be the top of the top flight this season. Hearts at Ibrox preview with added Fir Park debrief, sponsored by Gersnet. Check out the latest Gersnet. It was Friday night. I'm recording this on Friday the 13th, but by the time you see this, it'll be Saturday the 14th. It'll be Valentine's Day, and I can't think of anything more romantic than watching Mr. Brian Archer and Mr. Stuart Weir on the Gersnet Friday night podcast. It went out at 9 p.m. live on Friday the 13th. Classic lineup, those two. It's I always like watching Brian and Stuart, so give that a look, folks. It's be on the Gersnet YouTube page and available across all other good platforms, podding, streaming platform provider. I'm sponsored by that, and I'm sponsored by Below Deck Down Under. Below Deck Down Under, it's a kind of, I saw this, my wife was watching this the other day, you get all these things, it's the Real Housewives, I can't handle it, it's just too much. I get enough of that in real life, the folk just kind of pitching at each other and all that, but she quite like watching these things. She just likes to sit there and kind of laugh at them, and but there's a crossover, the Down Under, that's all the yacht and the young folk on the yacht and all that, and they get tips and things like that. The kind of stuff that I'll leave the room for. It's time to leave here, I say to myself. But there's one the other day, I was like, why is it Below Deck Down Under? That just makes no, it's Australian or Antipodean, didgeridoo type of crew that they've got there, folk from New Zealand or whatever it is. And I was like, but why are you calling it Below Deck Down Under? It just seems kind of tautological. It's actually the opposite of Now You See Me too. It's a famous Dan Harmon, who's now infamous for being a bit of a perv or a bit whatever, kind of sexually harassed an employee said it, but Dan Harmon, no creator of what's the thing called? It's the college thing was that he did that, but Rick and Morty, he creates that, and does a bit of stand up in that as well. And it was a very funny one he does about Now Ye See Me, these stupid films that are a bit slick, they're confidence tricksters / magicians. I think Morgan Freeman's one of them, and there's women involved in and stuff like that. And it's all supposed to be glamorous and slick, and they're able to make things disappear and all that, and cards up your sleeve. But imagine it was criminals doing that and using their skills to steal stuff and that. It's all very, yeah. But they did that, and the first one's called Now You See Me, and the second one's called Now You See Me Too. But surely that's what Dan Harmon's saying. Surely it's Now You Don't. Now You See Me is the first one. Now You Don't has to be the sequel, but they call it Now You See. This seems to be the opposite. Below deck, down under. It's just too much of the same thing going on. My name's Alec Anderson. Tears for souvenirs. Tears are not enough. Tears for shields and spears. Tears are not enough, searching for certainty when it's such an unstable world. Searching for something good, and I'm looking for the real McCoy. Blueprint that says that boy meets girl. Picture girl meets boy. The blueprint that says that the boy meets the girl. Picture in a magazine. Yes, you've shown your feelings. Yes, you've shown you're tough. Said things worth believing. Tears are not enough. Tears are not enough. Yes, you've shown your feelings. Yes, you've shown you're tough. Said things worth believing. Tears are not enough. Tears for souvenirs. And it's been tears for souvenirs for Hearts for so many years in the top flight, just in Scottish football in general. That's what they get as a souvenir at the end of each season. Just their tears. Rangers, we're along those lines for most of the last kind of 15 years. A whole lot of tears for us as souvenirs at the end of the season. But yes, you've shown your feelings. Yes, you've shown you're tough. Tears are not enough. I don't know if that's Danny Röhl. Could we apply that to Danny Röhl after that press conference today, the pre-match presser? I'm talking to you on the Friday. We're going to have a wee look into that. My name is Alec Anderson, and I'm here to preview Rangers' epic, massive, colossal tie against Heart of Midlothian. First against second at Ibrox on Sunday, 4:30, and we're second. We are second, and it's an absolute disaster. Of course, it's a catastrophe. Livy, LVI, Livy. I'm talking to you on the 13th. I'm talking to you on Friday, the 13th. Oh, how unlucky! We dropped to 2 points at Fir Park. Maybe we should have had a penalty. Big CHERMITI also had a chance to put us 2-0 up in about the 35th minute, which everybody's talking about as well, Friday the 13th, but you're probably watching this on Saturday the 14th. It's Valentine's Day. Oh, Hearts are coming tomorrow. Hearts. Is there any more Valentine than Hearts coming to Ibrox? Hope our love lasts and never dies. Lodge, sealed with a loving Glasgow kiss. And that's 13 and 14, and we'll be playing on the 15th, and it's all but the 5 points between us. But oh god, it should just have been 3, but hopefully get it down to 2, and we've been 13 points away. That was your 13th league game, 13th last league game we're playing the other night at Fir Park. 12 to go now. That's been unlucky for Danny Röhl, who's won 13 of his league games in charge of Rangers. But also that's the numbers game. Livy, if you're going to do a numbers game, Livy. Celtic beat Livingston 2-1 the other night with an injury time goal. They beat Livingston 2-1 at home. We beat Livingston 2-1 at home as well this season in the league. But we beat Livingston 2-1 with an injury time goal as well at Livingston. We did that, It's also Livy. If you take the I, Roman numerals, LVI, looks like Livy. The shortened name for Livingston, the nickname for Livingston, LIVI. And you can't have that in Roman numerals, obviously, because the I's gone below the V, and then you get another smaller number. That doesn't work. But the closest you can get to Livy in Roman numerals is LVI, which is 56. That's because I was watching the Super Bowl that it always makes me think. But the 60, and Rangers and Celtic getting the same results against Livy are both going for 56 this season. It's a numbers game. It's the numerology stuff again. I'm completely insane. It's a total lack of drink. And a Friday night, applying context equals saviour complex as far as we're concerned when it comes to Danny Röhl trying to explain stuff. What's he doing trying to explain? Trying to tell us how bad things were before he arrived and that he's made things better. Don't want to hear that. When you slip up, we just want to know that we never slipped up before. As soon as you get us to a certain position, no, that's it. We've always been this successful. We need to get more successful. Telling us that we were worse before this and that you've actually improved us. Just it happened to Mark Warburton, and it was Tynecastle that we played with. Mark Warburton started trying to tell us, well, you're in the lower leagues just last season. I got you at the lower leagues, and now you're wanting to not get beat 4-1 at Tynecastle. Off you go, Mark. Don't make the same mistake. Danny Röhl, yeah, I was raging on Wednesday night. I was absolutely bailing, but that's football, and we didn't lose. That was the main thing. I got a few weird kind of ROTT responses, the pod the next day, despite the fact I was slagging Seven Shades out of Rangers and openly criticising Danny Röhl, but it was the responses to it. And we don't have this kind of operation here, but it's just me, and it's just we've got a real tight crew, lots of lovely people here, and if anybody comes on and starts creating havoc and that and trying to treat this as the way they treat the Rangers Review, basically, I'll just delete them, because I can't be asked with that kind of stuff, and it annoys other folk. I mean, people spend a lot of time putting posts together and getting in touch with me, and spend a lot of time writing lovely posts. It's something I don't have a chance to respond to, and I hate that. But I'm not going to let somebody else come in and just start creating a whole different atmosphere in the pot. It's enough of that. Plenty of other places you can go and get that kind of stuff. So I can just delete them and that, but it's not the same for, obviously, Rangers Review, they can delete all the pods. Now, I've said a few things about Rangers Review. My only real beef with the Rangers Review is I need it so much, and they're so much better at podcasting than I'll ever be. It's total jealousy. It really is, and they're proper journalists. I just trying to kind of make out that they're fan media when they're not. They're media. They're an actual news organisation, but they're definitely Rangers fans. This kind of thing. But I was watching the Rangers Review on Thursday, and while deleting a few mad responses to my own stuff. It's a lot of time it's Celtic fans impersonating Rangers fans as well. You get all that kind of, oh, I'm so concerned, we'll never win anything. Then you go back, you look at all the other posts I've just been after we've got beat, saying how crap we are. It's like, that's fine, mate. They're usually getting names like Billy 1690 John Knox, Orange Lodge. And it's like, I think you maybe went a bit OTT, they're trying far too hard. But I was watching the Rangers Review on Thursday, and I immediately stopped raging at Danny Röhl when you saw the stuff that was coming into them. I could see during that Chris Jack was not getting angry because he's saying, look, we're getting the abuse and all that, but just I'm thinking, why? Why are you getting abuse? You're openly criticising Danny Röhl's tactics last night, but you're saying let's not sack him just yet. No, that wasn't enough for people. I went in. I made the mistake of going in and looking at the comments. Usually I just go about doing my business, just doing, just washing the dishes and things like that, sewing, bit of knitting, what have you, and I'm listening to the Rangers Review. I don't sit down and actually look at the comments coming in. They read out comments. They read out the best comments, so you don't have to bother with that kind of thing. But my God. And it was just, it's one of the moments that just makes you think we're in a cult. Rangers are actually a cult. The Rangers supporters are cults, and we are. They're all sports fans of, it's a weird situation. You think about it, the amount of time and effort and emotion that we put into following a sports club. It's kind of, it's great. It's one of the most essential things in life, but it is kind of a bit weird when you think about it. But this was beyond. It's been like this a few times, as we know, in the years. But we're certainly at the heart of a kind of mental health crisis, some sort of mass psychosis. Read the room, Chris. That was the one that got me. I actually sat down and composed a response and sent it to this guy on the posts under the Rangers Review on Thursdays. I was reading some of the posts they were getting in, and it was just, slag them more. No, you're not slagging them enough. No, you can't let them away with this. Or open your eyes and that. I'm thinking, who's more open-eyed than these two guys? Than Joshua Barry and Chris Jack when it comes to assessing Rangers, being involved with Rangers, spend their whole life taking phone calls for Rangers people, phoning Rangers people at the club, talking to players and stuff, talking to the management, and just scientifically analysing Rangers games. Chris Jack's written books about Rangers. The guy loves the club, and Joshua Barry seems to love the club as well. Very involved and knows everybody that you need to know. And I'm thinking, what have they got to open their eyes about? And it was one guy, I was reading all these different comments, and then somebody said, it's weird that this one got to me. Read the room, Chris. Just read the room. It's like, you're no angry enough, Chris. Read the room. He is the room. He's the only reason there is a room. This is a Rangers Review. They've set up the very room that you are responding to. There would be no room for him to read without him. And I actually responded and I sent it. And I went, I feel good. Then I immediately deleted it because I thought, I can't get involved in this kind of stuff. This is just, I can't be. But I have pops at the Rangers Review now and then for trying to impersonate a kind of true Rangers fan media pod when the guys are all paid, and they should be paid as well. But A, they are all Rangers fans. There's as far as I can tell, most of them are total Rangers fans. B, they are the very room we're reading, as I was saying. C, who the fuck is telling Chris Jack he doesn't know what he's talking about? Rangers. And D, Chris Jack and Joshua Barry are both openly criticising Danny Röhl for Wednesday night. They are expressly and expansively detailing his mistakes, what he got wrong, as far as they're concerned. Let's be clear here. Rangers fans are up in arms. Some Rangers fans are up in arms because the level of criticism isn't enough for them. It's an open war on perspective. We don't want perspective. We don't want context. I think I've said this before this season. I'm sorry, folks. This is what I do when I'm upset. When I turn on other Rangers fans, which makes me worse. But we're watching Celtic cut their own throats this season. And they copied us to do that. They basically did by appointing Wilfred Nancy and then having their fans direct action against them. That's exactly what we did when Russell Martin and Kevin Thelwell were at the club, stopping the game against Hibs with throwing stuff on the park and all that, and banners outside it. Because we appointed a manager who was just dropping points left, right and centre. Celtic then caught up with us by appointing Wilfred Nancy, and they're then going for that's fantastic, that's great, we've really got away with one there. But we now seem to want to go back to impersonating that. It's just been like, just calm down. It's calmed down today. It has calmed down today. I'm talking to you on Friday, and we'll got to the point where I think everybody's got together, had a word with ourselves, and the message is all the different fan groups and fan organisations have got together, just like, we're backing the team for 90 minutes, and we're backing them for 90 minutes until the end of the season. That is it. We're all on board here. With Danny Röhl, and that's a fantastic thing to see, because instead of sitting back and just watching Celtic die this season, we want to join them. We want to get in there and do exactly the same. It's like I think this goes beyond just frustration, built up frustration at the club's lack of success since 2011. It's more likely to be COVID and lockdown. It's genuinely a mental health crisis and a mass psychosis, and a whole lot of grown men demanding everybody else be as childishly hysterical as them, or you're not tough enough to support Rangers. It's a really weird vibe, and it upset me the other day watching, but I think that was just my way of channeling my own upsets. Celtic scored an injury time winner against Livingston. Right? Rangers are doing that. They had us we did that at Livingston, had us singing Martin, get the fuck. And Celtic doing the same thing at home to Livingston has got them, Martin O'Neill, you're fantastic. But apparently their Martin is an absolute hero. But that's clearly Motherwell are going to do the same to Hearts and Celtic as they did to us the other night. They already have. There's a very hateful attitude coming from the Motherwell players. Maybe that's my bitterness again. I'm transposing or projecting my own bitterness at the result. And I know what the boy that scored the equaliser is on loan from Celtic, but I feel as if it was they weren't even using our name. They were only saying Rangers. It was like them, and they did this and they did that, and we were much better than them, and they didn't even manage to do this. And it's quite belittling of your achievement there. But maybe we do that. Maybe our players do that all the time when they're talking about opposition. And I do sometimes. I wish we could be a bit less hateful towards our own team. We're getting this from other teams. We're getting this from other supports. I think I was saying this a couple of weeks ago, after whatever crisis it was then. And what a thing to see on Sunday if Hearts do win the league at Ibrox. This will be the moment. If they're going to win, they beat us on Sunday, they're basically winning the league. I would say just be a bloody football fan. If you want guaranteed results for your money, and watch fucking Star Wars or whatever childish shite you're into, and I watch Stranger Things on it. I enjoy a bit of Star Wars every now and then as well. I'm not mean that like Heat. I go on about Heat all the time, and that's sort of tough guy movie, because it's a bunch of psychopaths and sociopaths. I've got a childish attitude towards Heat. I don't mean it, but just You take the wrong attitude along to the football. If you want a guaranteed result, just stay at home and watch your favourite TV stuff and all that, and go and see a fucking psychologist while you're at it. Even if Rangers win the double this season and the treble next, this can have so many fans being so hysterical, so knee-jerk and so virulent, just when there's any kind of setback at all, totally lacking all context. It's never going to be able to cheapen the whole experience or make me think less of the Rangers support in general, but it could have been better. It'll not have been as nice as it could have been. Did he say nice? This whole thing of trying to be tough by watching people playing football, it doesn't scan, it doesn't work. This is about emotional investment and backing and giving love. And I know we want it returned, but my God. I think that's the problem. I think with Motherwell might be coming across a bit hateful and what have you. That's maybe how they've got to do it. They've got to get a bit bitter to make up the disparity in size, like physically on the park. Their players are all a lot smaller than ours, but also just the club in general. And obviously they hate. Motherwell fans will hate Rangers and Celtic for taking fans away from the Motherwell area, and I think we know all about that. If you support either member of the old firm, but I just think we want to be. I don't want Rangers. Maybe we could do a bit more of that. Sometimes we think we could be a bit more hateful. I don't think so, because it's the wrong way to get ahead, especially in football. You've got to be concentrating in the game, but I think we need to be more ready for it. We definitely need to be more ready for it, and I think if we're getting it from our own fans all the time, we're going to feel totally isolated. We've got a team against us, an opposition support that hates us, our own support hates us. What's the point? Is eventually going to be the kind of summation that our players come to. I said a few times, and we've all noticed it, that Danny Röhl does not take it one game at a time. There's a big hullabaloo about the fact he might have been, his team on Wednesday was based on his team on Sunday, but this has been noted a few times this season. Danny Röhl talking about taking 13 points from 15 in one run of 5 games. What we're going to get from the next 5 games, and once we get to this little period, the Christmas period or whatever, he does allocate energy and time and strategic thinking to blocks of games at the same time. And I have a funny feeling that he's doing this in particular at this particular time with these 2 particular games, because this is the last of the midweek weekend sequence, and it's 2 of the toughest games we can possibly get. Motherwell with a fantastic home record and a really draining team to play against, the way they possess the ball, 60-odd% possession they had the other night, and then Hearts, who are been top of the league all season basically. So it's 2 really tough games, and it's come right at the end of this run we've been on since September of midweek. I said a few times, we've all noticed that Danny Röhl does not take it one game at a time, and I was ready for us to draw at Fir Park in order to beat Hearts, because he's looked at both these games together, and that is how he's got us to this point of even being in a title race. We've played 14 high-end European games since the start of the season, since Motherwell won their League Cup group. They haven't played since January, and this is our last midweek weekend schedule to the end of the season. We're on the cusp of a cup and perhaps a title, on the cusp as a club, I think, of just really moving forward. And it breaks my heart that some of our fans are actually hunting us instead of. I mean, how clever am I if I put on a mocking tone of voice that makes up for the fact that my attitude doesn't really add up with the points that I'm trying to put forth? I can't even, use the term match fit as jokingly in relation to me and my podcast. But I think in the next few months, my pods will get sharper, lighter, more on point, perhaps even in sync and on time. Rangers will do the same, and they're far more likely to win trophies than I am to win like sponsorship or anything like that. Motherwell, Hearts, Falkirk. It's 4 points dropped to Falkirk this season. These are all the Scottish clubs. Hearts are the only Scottish club to beat Russell Martin this season. These are the Scottish clubs that are kind of excelling this season, I would say. They've no European football, any of them, to contend with. Hearts won't go to Hampden at all this season. We've got a huge Scottish Cup game before we can even get to Hampden for a second time this season. Danny Röhl It's taken over in the middle of us playing these 14 European games this season, all difficult games, all draining. I know we scalped Victoria Pilsenia at Ibrox. That was the only game that required a lot of energy, and even then we really struggled in the away leg of that game the following week. And I think even this week, Hearts will have they had more of a rest before their game on Tuesday night, and their game was Tuesday night, not Wednesday night. Coming into this game at Ibrox, and the game at Ibrox is 4:30. It's not as if Hearts are even getting, they're not having to turn up at lunchtime on a Sunday in Glasgow, kind of thing, that they're getting to 4:30 at night. And all this is happening amid a evolution, just a total explosion within the Rangers squad. The back room, the directors, everything, the boardroom, everything is just up in the air at Rangers, just starting to sort itself out. And for us to be close enough to be within 5 points and to be in second place, I think it's... I don't say this to kind of denigrate the other clubs. I say it so that we can get some perspective on Wednesday night at Fir Park, and that we keep that perspective before, during and after Sunday, which is the last game of that kind of utterly draining run and an utterly draining season of midweek weekends, denouncing sports science in a kind of anti-intellectual way, just because you're raging isn't helping, Alec. Tav hinted that the players need the fans to be behind them on Sunday. The Bears, Bearettes, Cubs and kind of non-binary carnivorous mammals will get right behind it. Everybody is going to get behind the team on Sunday after the Rangers Supporters Association, the Fan Advisory Board, the Copeland Collective, the Union Bears, the RSA, FAB, CC, UDA, NHS, TSB, the bank likes to say yes, all got behind the club today and behind the team, behind Danny Röhl. And that was great to see. It's coming on social media and what have you. Stay for 90 minutes and just back the team. I said on Wednesday, it would be like... shitting out a hedgehog for us to win the title this season. Okay, let's have a break. I've been too serious and too kind of slightly annoyed. It's depressing. Everyone's going to be okay, because even if we don't win the league or win the cup this season, the good news is in it. We've got a result already. It's in. Everything's going to be fine, folks. You're going to love this. Get a hanky ready. You're probably going to tear up. I'm going to get to see Switzerland. I'm going to finally get to see Switzerland. Did you see the draw on Friday? The draw the draw was on Thursday, but then they made the fixture arrangements. Switzerland, I know I've talked about it all the time. It's my second most important list. I've got the European finalists that I've got to see, the 106 European club finalists, and I've got 80 of them. Roma was number 80. Roma was 80 this season. We get beat 2-0, and Rangers fans moaning about it. But this is great. I'm getting to see them. I'm getting to tick them off my list. Same with the international football. It's UEFA is my big list, obviously. And I've been seeing going to Scotland games every now and then over the years at Hampden and what have you. I'm just ticking off all the UEFA nations, and there's 55 altogether currently. I've seen 49, but Switzerland is the biggest one. I've not seen Kosovo, Montenegro, Azerbaijan, Andorra, and Luxembourg, but Switzerland. It's just, I think it's about 3 times when I've been of age to go to the football that they've played at Hampden, that have come to Scotland, the Swiss national team, and the stories, the different ways in which I wasn't able to get. I wasn't just old enough to go myself the first time. I was kind of expecting my dad wasn't interested. He was gone with his mates and that. So it was just like a school night kind of thing when we played them kind of early 80s. And then when I was of that, I'd gone on too far. I was getting to the point where I was working myself out of a job to pay off my debts so I could go back to uni, go back to the higher woodwork as a kind of mature student, but basically in my early 20s, but a mature student technically. And so I didn't have the money when we played them the next time. And then the third, it was 2008. I thought it's the Euros. Euro 2008, it's co-hosted by Switzerland, so they'll not be in the qualifying, so we can't even draw. It's not impossible to draw them because I've not got the money to go to away games, and I'm not going to go with the Tartan Army to anywhere further than Wembley. But I was all right. I'm not going to get to play them this, and then we had them in a friendly because Switzerland were having to play friendlies against everybody. They were coming to Hampden in a friendly. I was like, yeah, beauty, yes, finally I'm going to get to see Switzerland. And I got tonsillitis. It's tonsillitis. It was just debilitating. And I bought my mate. He was coming from Lithgow, and I met him. I had the car with me. And he's not going for a pint. And I said, no, this tonsillitis is killing me. and I had a ticket, and it was one. I think it was about 20,000 there. Now, you can't get a ticket for a Scotland game when they're going to qualify for the World Cup, but it's folk like me that have been gone when there's like 10,000 and 20,000 going to Hampden. But not bitter. But I was like, I'll just drive you along to the game. What I'll do is I'll park the motor, and I'll just go in. I'll hear the national anthem. I'll watch them kicking off, and then I can claim that I have seen Switzerland. But I'll have to get it. But by the time I couldn't even go to the motor. I just felt so bad. So I couldn't go and see them. I couldn't go and see them at all. And it's like they just keep not drawing them. They've been in Group A or League A or the Nations League in Scotland, never draw them, and then they did draw them, and I thought, it's my wife's 50th this year. Her 50th is in October, and it's also the October holidays as well. I thought, I bet it's right in the middle of the October holidays, which are kind of part of our 50th, and that they're going to get Switzerland. We got Japan. We're playing in Japan. I was like, yes, finally get to see Japan. I've never seen Japan. This is going to be tremendous. Getting them off a wee kind of list. I like to get the nations for other continents as well. That's really difficult. And our pal's 50th in Inverness is on the exact same night, the exact same Saturday night, and she's like the best pal in the world. She's fantastic, so we have to go. I wouldn't not want to go. It's going to be great, but so I'm not going to get to see Japan. But Switzerland come in and replaced it. This is absolutely phenomenal, and I know it means a lot to you. And if you want to fuck off and die because of that long, really boring story, well, you can also console yourself that I've never seen Brazil. That's as soon as I get to see Switzerland, I'll then have to see it. I've not seen Brazil. My sister's seen Brazil. She's moving that interest. Because she's staying down in London when they played at the Emirates against Scotland down there. But if you're finding this all a bit annoying, don't worry about it, because 2 minutes after I posted about it, that's what it means. I was looked up the draw, the day the draw was getting, and it turned out it was September. It's September we're playing Switzerland at Hampden, so fantastic. And North Macedonia as well, that'll be November, so it's before and after the whole kind of 50th stuff in October. And I've seen Macedonia, it's just a name change, but I've never seen them as North Macedonia, so that'll be good to get that done as well. Slovenia I've seen plenty of times, but that's, what the hell, is another international. That'll be good to go and see them. But I was like, this is absolutely fantastic. It's great. Friday the 13th, I did a wee kind of tweet, but it's not a tweet, it's a Blue Sky thing I post, because I just only go on Twitter to slag Elon Musk and Trump and all that. And I was like, that's great news. I'll finally get to see Switzerland. But knowing my luck, I'll probably die in August. I went to the front door. I thought, because the mail had been, and I can tell by the demographics, the analytics page you get if you've got a YouTube page, YouTube account, whatever it is. If you're a content provider, it tells you, the kind of the age, the most common age group of the people who watch your podcast. So I know you guys will know about the old over 50s man thing. You get the bill screening stuff sent to you, the wee pack, the wee kit for your bill screening every couple of years. Mine arrived today. It was hanging at the back of the letterbox, so it was facing me when I opened the inside door, and it's like, there you go, Friday the 13th, test for bowel cancer. So that was good. That's probably, and I'd made that wee joke about not living until September. My mate, when he got the cancer, he's younger than me, and he got it around about, was it May or something to get diagnosed, and he was dead by the 1st of August. So that's it'll happen quick. So it was good. That was good. A bit of a downer there. If I've pissed you off with that one, don't worry about it. Life got its own back at me. I said on Wednesday we'd be like shitting out I'm sorry about the scatological stuff, but it's just quite shitting out a hedgehog for us to win this title, because welcome to the bowels of that kind of horrible analogy. We don't just turn up and start winning every game to win a title for the first time in years. Steven Gerrard took 2 years of a few games, like quite a few games per season, like the other night at Fir Park. And the season we won 55 so gloriously, so smoothly, we remember it. But if you think about it in any kind of detail, we drew at Fir Park, 1 each that season. We drew 1 each at Hamilton Accies. They equalised with the last kick of the ball after we played them off the park and couldn't put away our chances. We drew at Easter Road, as we just have. We drew 0-0 at Livingston. So we drew up at St Johnstone as well. Again, they equalised with a penalty and with the last kick of the ball. Even then, when we're romping to the most glorious record-breaking title of 130 odd years, 121 years, it was still having horrifically annoying moments in the very last seconds of a game. But to get to that point where we were setting defensive records and not losing a game all season and winning the title, that took us a couple of years of Steven Gerrard having really bad results and a few times looking like he might have to walk, like he might have to go, like he might get sacked. So I said on Tuesday night, Motherwell and Hearts have got one extra ingredient on us. They've been overachieving all season. That wasn't Dundee or Ross County, by the way. That wasn't like a Philip Clement at Dens Park, a drawn at Dens Park or getting beat off Ross County up in Dingwall. They're like, that was Motherwell, who've been fantastic all season. An amazing record at Fir Park this season. But they've been doing that all season, Hearts and Motherwell. Our gaffer inherited a key traumatised squad in October, and the players that we were so appalled weren't playing for us on Wednesday. Why is he not playing? Why is he not playing? Why is he not playing? They were all brought to the club by Danny Röhl, or were rehabilitated by Danny Röhl to the point where we want them on the park. So you're slagging the guy who's made them so good that we want to slag the guy. Or has brought them to the club at all in the case of the new signings. That rehabilitated to total competence by Danny Röhl. He's overmanaged the squad on Wednesday night. Yeah, I think so. That was my feeling. Same as most people, but his kind of sports science rotation policy of the last 3 months is why we're contesting the title at all. We didn't round on him after his first material. We don't round on him after his first material mistake, which may not yet even prove to be that big a mistake. Let's see how Hearts and Celtic get on versus Motherwell, who've already given Celtic as many problems as they've given us. Motherwell, by the way, are in their situation, in this flow of theirs, because they did not pull the trigger on Jens Berto Askew after he had a few kind of scary setbacks. I think his very first competitive game in Charles was a 2-each draw at Clyde, or it was in Hamilton, but with Clyde in the League Cup. Clyde, who were struggling to remain a league team last season, draw 2-each. They're 3-0 up against Hearts at Tynecastle and draw 3-each. They get cuffed 4-1 in the League Cup semi-final. But Motherwell stuck by the guy because they could see what he was trying to do, and I don't think it's really difficult for us. I don't think it's very much that. I don't think it's difficult at all for us to see what Danny Röhl is trying to do. How you doing, folks? This is your Fat Egg podcast, the Gilly Welsh of Rangers-related pods. It's made to seem a bit cleverer than it really is because of the tradition to which I'm bringing a different sensibility and less cliched politics. I'm quite left to centre, and I'm just acting superior. There's nothing superior about this at all, but I'm still deeply loyal to that tradition from which I come. Post-match at Motherwell, the post-match interview on Rangers TV from the head coach, Danny Röhl, was... He told Rangers TV that Motherwell were the better team in the first half, and we had chances to win the game with a second goal, which we didn't take. He's talking about CHERMITI's chance, isn't he? And he's disappointed that we let ourselves down at a set piece when we conceded the equaliser. Set pieces, we've been good at defending them this season, but now it's about the reaction, which we've also been good at this season, reacting to setbacks. And his actual presser in the press room at Fir Park, he's disappointed that we dropped 2 points. That was his first line. The very first words to the very first question from Ronnie Esplin. Ronnie Esplin just started off straight away saying to Danny Röhl, "Okay, Danny, what's your thoughts on that game tonight?" That was a totally neutral question. Just what's your thoughts on that game tonight? And Danny Röhl offered up straight away, disappointed that we dropped to 2 points. So that was his answer, his verdict. So he's not pulling the idea that he wasn't, in fact, happy with a point. He's not pulling that idea out of his arse at today's presser, Friday's pre-match presser, pre-Hearts presser. He simply, as he would explain in that presser at Ibrox, or is it Murray Park, they have them, Auchenhowie, in the Hearts pre-match presser, that he got it wrong. He says, I got it wrong, that I didn't express myself properly. He needs to be careful not to send mixed messages, is what he was saying. But he did say, it maybe be different from what he said to Luke Shanley, when he got interviewed by Sky at Fir Park, but he said he was disappointed that we dropped 2 points. That's just, I think, before he even knew it was going to be an issue. He said that off at the top of his head to the first question he was asked in the presser. Again, he had that emphasis that we should have gone 2-0 up. He's not, I think, hanging CHERMITI out to dry, because surely it's his chance he's talking about, the chance in the 35th minute. It's so much as he's emphasising how close we were to winning all 3 points. Again, we're normally good at defending second. He's talking about we're normally good at defending second phase from opposition free kicks. That plus Motherwell went down to 10 men and 1-0 down meant that they had nothing to lose. That was fair enough. I mean, that is the case, but a lot of people might not be too happy with him saying that. We lose our man in the middle of the pitch. That's why we lost the goal. And Ronnie Esmond again asked him a follow-up question: how big a blow is it to your title hopes? And Danny Röhl said it's not nice, but we have a good opportunity again, and quick. The title race is not over. It's a blow because we dropped the points so late, but on Sunday we can rectify it. I'm kind of paraphrasing him. Somebody was asking him, but does this mean it's a must-win game against Hearts? And he's practically laughing. Since I'm here, every game is a must-win. That's what he talks about with his staff. Not every game. There's not been a single game that he couldn't say this isn't must-win, which obviously has a draining effect on everybody, even if it's a brand new player. Our fans expect and demand a win, so do we, as a staff, obviously. But you see an opponent tonight who hasn't conceded a goal since October, again with the context, again with a saviour complex, trying to tell us that Motherwell are good. Chris Jack asked him about his selection choices, obviously knowing that was going to be the big issue in Rangers Review the next day. You have to pick the team before the game. You have to pick the team before the game, not after, he said, which I thought was a bit catty and a bit. Obviously, you're going to pick the team before the game and not after. It's a bit sarky. I thought maybe not. Maybe it's a mistranslated German phrase. Normally, I don't kind of speculate. I don't talk about the referee. He was saying, he asked about some of the refereeing decisions they seem to go against us. Some clearly went against Motherwell as well. But he says, I don't normally go on about the referee, but some of the 50-50s he's saying, and he just left that hang and didn't finish that statement. He says, anyway, I'm looking more at us. Still a pretty decent Rangers manager attitude there. Don't blame the officials. Look at ourselves. Again, asking about how bad it was. He said, the world goes on. No, for us it doesn't, Danny, but yeah, fair enough. And today we should be disappointed, but we move on. When you're behind, when you're coming from behind, every game is must win. When you're coming from behind, and he's hitting this point again and again that we're coming from behind. It's a bad start to the season. He's kind of talking about Russell Martin and Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell, obviously, but we're coming from, so we can't afford to slip up at all. But maybe we should be a bit more grateful for getting a draw at Fir Park when they've been so good at it, and their manager's been there from day one. They've given him time. He's got his own team, kind of thing. But I don't know. But his pre-match pressure today. I'm talking to you on Friday, folks, so you'll be seeing this on Saturday. Sorry if that's confusing. But earlier today, as far as I'm concerned, on Friday the 13th, it was weird. I definitely felt there was a moment, particularly when he was talking to Joshua Barry of the Rangers Review. Funnily enough, very chippy. I thought it was without a smile. It's quite weird the way he reacted to the follow-up question from Joshua Barry of the Rangers Review, and he kind of cut him off, I think, as well. I don't think it was really appropriate. I don't know. Maybe I'm not getting why Joshua Barry was being totally vicious to him, but I didn't see it at all. It doesn't suit Danny Röhl either, and it kind of complements. It contrasts, but at the same time complements, as far as I'm concerned, that the slight loss of equilibrium I felt has been nitpicky. You're over-analysing stuff because it's all you do is analyse every detail of your team and every aspect of your club. But I did say after the Queen's Park game or the debrief before the Motherwell game, still talking about the Queen's Park game, his interview on Premier Sports on the track side with Emma Dodds and Alan Hutton and Stephen Craigan, he seemed really, really psyched and optimistic. It was a bottom of the Championship team, and he kept saying that. I know it's a second division side and we've just beat them 8-0, but this was great, that was great. And then he said this time next week we could be top of the table. And it seemed a bit counting your chickens, a bit fate tempting, asking for the opposition teams to put this up on their notice board in the dressing room kind of thing. I know that goes too far in Scotland. I think he's still trying to inject his own team with energy and he wants to get the crowd on side and what have you. And then we've got the bit a week ago, obviously, the Motherwell, the Kilmarnock game at Ibrox when we were getting booed off the park at 1-0 up against 10 men. Well, that's just licence, isn't it, for people who were doing that, for booing them that night. I was outraged by that myself. I wasn't outraged by it. I was just gutted for Danny Röhl when I saw how genuinely hurt he was by it after the game, which we won 5-1. but then anybody who was booing them had been 1-0 up against 10 men is vindicated, as far as you're concerned, by what happened at Motherwell the other night when we couldn't hang on to 1-0 against 10 men to full time. But this, and then he seems overly happy almost about the 8-0 win over Queen's Park in the Scottish Cup, and said something, as I said, I thought was quite fate tempting. And then I think he was genuinely angry, but the way he was doing it is so kind of terrifying, really. Not like you're terrified of him. It was just quite scared, almost imperceptible. I think maybe to the untrained eye, to folk who haven't been watching Danny Röhl this season, but it was definitely there. When he first came into the presser today, he was big smiles, almost laughing as he refused to give any kind of injury news, saying that he'd learned from the last time. It's 48 hours still from the game. He's talking to us on Friday. The game's not till Sunday, so no news from me because stuff can change. I get the feeling he's in the huff. He was laughing and not smiling, but I get the feeling he's in the huff about the way everybody's pounced on him for starting CHERMITI the other night, even though he told us that Ryan Nadiri had picked up an injury. And he did say jokingly before kick-off at Fir Park on Sky, "Oh, that's what I get for opening my mouth at the press conference. You know, you say a player's going to be fit, and then you say everybody's fit, and then a player comes in and has a twinge, and he must have had a slight problem because he did play Ryan Nadiri, but he had to start off the bench." So I don't know if he's upset about that. He's just blown it out of proportion because of the general reaction he's got to dropping those points the other night. It's like, no, I'm not going to bother telling you injury news. That was one way of reading it. You know, I'm not going to, because you hung me out to dry the last time I told you the injury news. He's thinking, obviously, players can pick up a wee tweak before the game actually kicks off. But, you know, you don't seem to appreciate that. I don't know, I'm reading too much into it. Nadiri, they felt that we kind of twins the other night. There was something between his pre-match press and kick-off at Fir Park that Nadiri felt that meant he had to start on the bench, and that seems to have been sucked into the general feeling amongst the Rangers support, myself included, that some more of the new signings, and well, there only would be two more after that Romans or Scott Olsen could have been involved in the game at some point, and they weren't. He's been asked about the whole thing. Are you under pressure going into this game? You have to catch up with Hearts, and you're 5 points behind. If Hearts win, they're 8 points in front of us. Anyway, we'll see. Celtic eventually get on, but he tried to kind of throw a bit of context and shades, saying that we were 13 points behind Hearts when he took over, and it must be making Hearts feel under pressure that we could go 2 points behind them on Sunday. Could possibly cut that to 2. And he's been asked about how he's felt about the reaction to the result the other night, and he said, "Yeah, I was manager of the month," and then 24 hours later, I'm the worst manager. I'm getting criticised. Everybody's saying I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not good enough. He kept smiling and shrugging and saying, "This is football." But I think it's genuinely hurting him, and he was kind of reaching maybe a bit too phlegmatic with the kind of late goals patter that he came out with today about Tuesday and Wednesday night. Is it not our opponents will score late goals and we can see the late goal? You know, and one's a function of the other because Motherwell were the opponent who scored against us late on to cost us the late goal. But he's talking about Hearts on Tuesday night and then Celtic against Livingston scoring late goals. If that hadn't happened, it'd be a different, a few minutes away from it being a different press conference today or whatever. They can't do the ifs and buts thing. That's the whole point. We did concede late on, and they have scored winners late on. One journalist was asking him basically if he wasn't as bold with his selection on Wednesday as he's asked everybody else at the club to be in their thinking and their approach. Even that was quite a horrible, nasty question. The guy's tone was lovely, but it was a real. You find a lot of journalists, that's what they do. Listen, I'm friends with lots of journalists. I'm some of my best friends are sports journalists, and lovely teeth they've got, and really good dancers. But I don't mind the ones that will do the work, that will actually work for a living, and they'll dig right in there, and they'll not go for cheap headlines and tabloid stuff. They'll get right in there, and they'll properly work for a living. They'll earn their place, they'll earn their respect by getting kind of broadsheet type, incisive, detailed stories. But it's the ones that just come along and just want an easy life, and they want an easy headline, and they just want to basically exploit the investment that you and me, real supporters of football who have been there, putting our soul into this team of ours for entire life. They just come along and they exploit that and they live off the top of that. Stop the small quotes. That's what. Just stop the small quotes. Send them back to where they came from. But this guy was asking him, "Oh, maybe some fans think you weren't as bold, perhaps, with your selection." He's alluding to the fact that Danny Röhl had told the board, Kavanagh, not to be as bold as possible in the transfer window, and that maybe is what started upsetting him. It wasn't very nice. He's getting kind of worn down, it seemed to me, with how literally and forensically his every word is being remembered, almost in the hope it could be used against him at some future point. The decision making is influenced by the results, was it? And you wouldn't be criticising if we'd won. Is basically what he was saying. It was kind of truisms he was coming out with. I don't know. But when asked what we can learn from Wednesday, he complimented Motherwell's intensity, but again mentions the chance that CHERMITI missed for going 2-0 up, and he compares it to the fact that Motherwell, he thinks, didn't have too many chances on, and I think they did as many direct chances on goal as we did, and he said, we want more control of the phases of play. So Joshua Barry of Rangers Review, the Heralds, Evening Times, whatever, he comes in and he says, do you need a pre-season? Danny, do you need a pre-season to get that level of control in a game? I don't think he's in any way tabloid at all, Joshua Barry, and I think he was saying, well, you've just mentioned the control thing, so I'll go and I'll help you out here. I'll basically give you a tap in. A bit of an excuse for the night. You've not been here since the middle of since the summer, like Jens Berto Askew has at Motherwell. You had to come in October, but he didn't want to make excuses, said Danny Röhl in response to that, but he did express interest in how it affects a team to have played 10 games less. 10 games together. I lost him a bit at this point. This can mean one or two things. Did he mean that Motherwell have played less games and they haven't had the European games that we've had? You know, they had a few League Cup games at the beginning of the season that we didn't have in the group stage of the League Cup, but we've had 14 European games. Or is he meaning the fact that they've not had the manager? They've had the manager all season, so he's had 10 less games as manager of his group of players. So he came in, in October to manage his group of players when Jens Berto Askew's had them since July. It's really since June. I couldn't make out what he actually meant there. But Joshua asked him to kind of follow up. Joshua Barry asks him about the emotions of the players, how are the emotions of the players after Wednesday? And probably to cushion that, or frame it as positively as possible, he mentions, Joshua Barry, he mentions how the team responded after previous setbacks, the loss at Tynecastle, the draw the draw with Falkirk at Ibrox. And for me, Danny Röhl doesn't get it and takes it completely the wrong way. I think he's been managing a mood or exhaustion or something, and is just hearing too many negatives and kind of ingratitude. And immediately he turns to Joshua and he cites the win at Parkhead and Aberdeen, the win at Pittodrie, and the 8-game winning run. And he says something along the lines of, it sounds, because he's not really raising his voice or anything like that. And it's the German accent, the English and the German accent, and it's no perfect English. Neither's mine, and I've been speaking it my whole life. But he says, you can ask me about negative energy after these results. That'd be better if you ask me about. So he's trying to say, well, we won the 8 games, and what about that game we won? We beat Celtic at Park, we beat Aberdeen at Pittodrie, we went an 8-game winning run. Where was the questions then about negative energy? That's not what I don't think that's what he meant, Joshua Barry. But because of his tone, because he's got this kind of monotone type delivery, it speaks quite low. It's not a high pitched voice that he's got, but the way he speaks, it's difficult to tell that he's taking offence until he just turns away and looks at somebody else on our question, and he does this really strange thing. It's quite unsettling thing with his mouth. It's kind of, which I've not seen before. Like he's about to have some sort of fit. And I think that's him raging. That's what and it felt cold. It felt very, very cold. And it was definitely, he was done. He was done with Joshua Barry, and he was moving on to somebody else. And that's the first time I think I've seen him looking visibly like, fuck you, basically. He just leaves it there. He looks away for Joshua Barry, and he does this thing with his mouth that I was talking about, which is kind of weird, very disconcerting. I think he's raging. He's absolutely raging. CHERMITI, the next question is about Youssef CHERMITI, and he goes straight back into being he's not. Maybe I've misread it. Maybe he wasn't upset with that question at all, but it seemed weird. And he feels for Youssef. It's not about himself. He's upset for Youssef at not scoring his goal the other night. He wishes next time Youssef gets a chance like he did around about the 35th minute. No, the double shot. He shoots straight at the goalkeeper from practically the penalty spot, and he shoots again straight at a defender. And he says this thing that he's always been saying about. I wish next time he takes an extra touch and looks for the corner, i.e. the corner of the net. He should take his time and put it away. He's just snatched at it. He cited Youssef's 2 goals against Celtic at Parkhead again to kind of talk about how he is a great finisher, what he can do, but he didn't mention the fact he hasn't scored since then. And he's talking about how well he played generally in the game. And we did see that the run he makes across the Motherwell defence really helps with Diamandi and Raskin combining for the only goal we scored. But yeah, it was a strange interview. I thought he seemed strange. It's a press conference, but he seemed quite strange, Danny Röhl. I think he's quite stressed. I think he's under a bit of pressure. Maybe he's got the cold or something like that as well. It's maybe not helping him, but he seemed ratty. He seemed a bit ratty, and maybe that's for the best. Maybe he needs to be. But this thing with Youssef CHERMITI, he keeps saying this. He needs to take another pass, another touch. He said this a lot when we struggled to score at Hibs as well. We didn't score at Hibs. We didn't score at Easter Road. We struggled to create chances full stop against Hibs at Easter Road. And he said this thing about taking more time on the ball, whereas we instinctively as football fans think, no, hit the thing first time, get it moved quicker. But he says, and it's straight. When I think about CHERMITI, has only scored 4 goals for us, Youssef CHERMITI. And he is great in other ways. He definitely is good in other ways. But I'm getting to the point of game where it's like, this is just. He had a couple of other chances in the second half when he seemed to be kind of flattering to deceive. His finishing's becoming an issue. But I think about the goals he did score, 2 of them involved like really long runs with the ball or towards the ball. The consolation goal we scored at Tynecastle for us, which was after a Hearts mix-up, a Hearts mistake, or on top of a Hearts mistake. And the second goal he scores at Parkhead, he's running a long way. Like he's got a lot of time to think about it. And the goal he scored against, the first goal he scored against Celtic at Parkhead, it was instantaneous. It was brilliant reactions. It was like it's happening so quick he didn't have time to think. And the ball Nico Raskin fires into him from quite a short distance, very close to him, and at a fair rate of knots. And he has the foresight and the instinct to know that the goalkeeper's going to the front post. He's standing at the front post. And the only way to score is to let the ball, at that pace, go through his legs and then backheel it. Behind the goalie, who's covering the front post, who's covering CHERMITI. It's quite amazing. It seems to be the chances, like he had at Motherwell the other night, where he's got a bit of time. He's closer to goal, and there's a bit of time to think about it. It's like if he gets a long run at the ball, that gives him enough time to just compose himself and think, this is fine. Or if it's happening so quick he can't think. It's a very small sample size. There's not a big database there to work off to work out what's going on with him. But it might be that thing that he's just young and it's going to get better. But we can't afford him to be missing any more chances if we want to win the league this season. I don't think we really know what kind of player Youssef CHERMITI is going to be yet. It was final question for Danny Röhl today in the pre-Hearts presser. He was asked about him, given the impression on Wednesday post-match that he thought a point was good enough at Fir Park, and you could see that he was definitely maybe get self-conscious about the fact that he looked a bit ratty when he was talking to Joshua Barry, or he'd got it out of his system, but he just went very kind of modest there and said, he thinks maybe he wasn't clear enough about it. He always wants to win. But after having drawn the game and seen how Motherwell had played really well, he was just saying, well, we just take the point. It might not be as bad as we think it is basically what he was kind of saying. He's getting the idea. These journalists, you give them chocolate Santas at Christmas and they give you grief for not winning every game. And these fans, these Rangers fans, you give them a title challenge in February when we looked like we were going to get relegated in October, and they give you grief for not winning every game. And it's Hearts who've won every game against us this season. There's only been 2. They beat us 2-0 at Ibrox on the 13th of September, and Maurice Shankland's cheating brace handled the first one. He's a blue nose, and he admitted it in the press conference afterwards that he handled the ball. Wasn't he picked up by VAR, or they deemed it not in any way punishable. And the rebound shouldn't count for penalties. It should be the same as penalty shootouts. I'm in for a retrospective rule change and having that goal retrospectively chopped off when Jack Butland saves his penalty, but he scores the rebound. Russell Martin's only lost to Scottish opposition. We made a bit of a fist of it too in that game, from what I remember. But it did confirm our worst start to a season since 1978. No wins in our first 5 games. It's the only time that had happened since John Gregg in 1978-79. Sunday the 21st of December, Tynecastle, we scored first. It was chopped off disgracefully. VAR drawing the lines. That's fine by me. But it was all Hearts after that. Once we got the goal chopped off quite early on, it was all Hearts in that first half. They're 2-0 up at half time. Set piece headed in. It was a corner, I think, Stuart Finlay, ensuring he gets a permanent move to Hearts, and an awful mistake by Jack Butland at his near post. At his near post. At, in inverted commas. It was quite, sorry, Jack, I'm never going to slag you again. I'm just having a laugh at you here. It was like he's saying, the stories. Dixie Dean, the Everton striker, the original Dixie Dean's, he scored 60 goals in a season for Everton. It's the record for the top flight in England in a season, 60 goals in a season. And he used to apparently be so confident of that he would get up so well for the ball in the box, he would shout at the opposition goalkeeper. He knew them all. Jimmy, top left. Just to give the guy like a chance, or to make it more interesting. I'm going to go bottom right with this one, Dave. While he's up in the air, while he's about to take the shot. Football a bit slower then, but still pretty cocky. Must be an Everton thing, because Neville Southall used to do that. Neville Southall used to do, apparently in training, like Ian Rush couldn't score against him in training for Wales, and yet Ian Rush would always score against him in the Merseyside derby. But apparently at training at Everton as well, he would do this thing where he would just go in goals, and he would put his hands behind his back. He wouldn't use his hands. He just completely take the piss out his teammates, and that they still couldn't put the ball. They couldn't get it past him. He was saving it with his chest and his head and his bum and all that. They couldn't get it past him. Unless it was an actual game situation. Even then, he was an amazing goalkeeper, Neville Southall. And I don't know if Jack Butland's got the two of them mixed up, and he just said, right, Lawrence, let's make this interesting. I'm going to leave a shape. I'm going to leave a hole here. I'm covering my front post, as you'd expect from the angle you're at just now, but I'm going to leave a hole that's just exactly the circumference of a football. And I measured the ball before we kicked off today. It's no bigger, yet no smaller than the circumference of the ball you're about to kick here. Can you get it through that? Oh, you have. You've got it in there. She's left a big enough hole at his front post for the ball to go through it, and that's precisely where Lawrence Shankland put it. And it was Hearts had a bit of a mix-up in defence that allowed big CHERMITI to rush through. He showed quite a bit of pace and determination to score, from what I remember, to pull a goal back. But yeah, they do set pieces well. They don't do Europe or Hampden Hearts. They do data analysis very, very well, thanks to the addition of Tony Bloom to their board. And we're looking at a situation where, had we won 1-0 at Fir Park the other night, if we'd won by a single goal at Fir Park, we'd have needed to beat Hearts 4-0 to go top on Sunday. As it is, the kind of safety net can't sink any lower than this. Minimum requirement is we finally take something off Hearts. Just take something off them for the first time. Ensure that they don't whitewash us this season, and that they can't get any further away from us than the 5 points that they currently are. We've taken nothing off Hearts this season, but we've only played them twice. Celtic have lost home and away to Hearts as well as ourselves before drawing, controversially, they wish, at Tynecastle a few weeks back. So us and Hearts have both won at Parkhead, and are both unbeaten versus Celtic in the league. Both ourselves and Hearts have not been beaten by Celtic in the league so far this season. We've beaten Motherwell, Hearts haven't. Hearts and Rangers are unbeaten versus Motherwell, Celtic aren't. So let's kind of pull Hearts closer while both pulling away from Celtic. And I don't know, it's almost a four-way thing. Motherwell might come up there as well. You can make it a four-way thing. They're doing so well, Motherwell. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think they're completely out of it just yet. But we don't want Hearts to whitewash us this season. We need to take something off them minimum. But if you want them to win the league, they've got to win. They've lost 3 league games, Hearts. We've only lost 2 league games this season. But only Motherwell have drawn more league games than us, and it was at Fir Park that we went into double figures for draws. Just us and Dundee United on 10 draws this season. Motherwell on 11. Danny Röhl is responsible for 13 of our 14 league wins. Under Stevie Smith, we only one game in charge. Stevie Smith and Russell Martin, we won one league game. Every other win we've had this season, and there's been 13 of them. We've won 14 league games altogether. 13 of them came under Danny Röhl, Friday the 13th. I've not been writing Hearts off. I have not been writing Hearts off this season. I've not been writing them off this season at all. I've not been waiting for them to kind of crash and burn and end up mid-table. But for them to win this, title, for them to win the league this season, I think physics demands that they do crash spectacularly at least once within this. It's at least one game. They haven't been. I don't think they've been building towards this for seasons on end. Hearts haven't been building up slowly to winning the title. It's just come about this season. Obviously, their Hearts, they've basically been laying the groundwork since the Anne Budge days and all that, for just to make sure they're stable. But this is too much too soon. I think they can win the league. They absolutely can. But so they do that by kind of resubmerging to quite some depth to avoid the bends, to kind of catch up with themselves. And I think they need to do that maybe in one game, just in the course of one game. Remember when Liverpool won the league for the first time in 30 years, back in 2020? They could beat 3-0 off Watford. They could beat 4-0 off Manchester City. I think it was Aston Villa or Chelsea that beat them 5-0 in the League Cup. I don't know if that was reserve teams or whatever they're putting out in that, but they had these little. It was an amazing season from Liverpool, but when they crashed, they really crashed. I mean, they lost. I think they maybe lost games by a single goal or something like that. But they had these amazing. When was it Aston Villa pit 7? But they beat them 7-2 one Sunday. I don't think that was the season they won the league. But I'm sure it was a COVID. It was a lockdown game as well. I remember watching it at the telly. But that was Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, who were reaching Champions League finals on their way to win the league. Even they had moments where they completely crashed because this was them suddenly going to win. I mean, they'd be building towards that as well, Liverpool. But I was just watching the skeleton there, the Olympics, and well done to the guy whose name I've instantly forgotten. But it's a gold for Britain at the Winter Olympics, fantastic. And I was watching the women's skeleton as well. Absolutely, I'm just sitting. What happened to the luge? What's the luge? Remember that? What was that? A different thing? Have they changed the name? Oh, it's so woke these days. It's skeleton's more what the luge is probably French for fat or something. No, it's a different thing. It's no different thing altogether. It's just you sit up and you go fit first. You turn round the way. You sit in your arse, but you're facing, and the skeleton's when you're face down and heading head first down this thing. It's absolutely terrifying. And the bit I watched, I was just getting ready to leave the room. It was the women. It was South Africa and then Puerto Rico, who I'm sure a bit cool runnings. I don't think there's many bobsleigh courses in Puerto Rico or South Africa. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. Maybe they've got really high mountains. They do have high mountains in South Africa, don't they? Maybe do you get the snow up there and all that? But I'm thinking these are places I think of as quite warm. So these are probably the people that aren't expected to. It was the first South African woman ever to do the skeleton at the Olympics, the Winter Olympics. So obviously it's not been a big thing over there. And they looked absolutely terrifying. They were like heroes as far as I was concerned. What they were doing is just unbelievable. The speed they're travelling at, because they've got this thing that's a drone, that follows them down. So it's almost keeping up with them as they're speeding down this thing. They're basically on a tea tray. It's like a wee tray that they're on, and the speed they're getting to. It must be the worst spectator sport in the world. Because that's that. I bagged South Africa at the luge. That was. Cost me £3,000. The hotel and the flights and all that, but that's 2 seconds. That was it. A Mike Tyson fight back in the day, just very, very quickly over. And then they're all the British guy winning it, getting the gold. It's like an NCP car park. The whole setup, because there's all pillars everywhere, and it's holding up the various bits of these wee roofs that they've got over the course, and that it's just they're all jumping about a car park, and there's folk just walking past that are doing various other things to do with that. I'm waiting for the wee sweepy guy to go past in his van. Right, hey, that's Slippy there, watch yourself. But it's absolutely terrifying, the speed they get to, even the slowest of the luge contestants. I think Hearts and Rangers are, that's you're paying your money for it. Hearts and Rangers are flying at a terrifying rate of knots these days. And it's all icy, because they're on ice to start with. It's treacherous, because Hearts haven't won the league for decades, and Rangers have such a ropey start, bad manager and that. So this is what Danny Röhl's going on about, the fact that we're trying to catch up with ourselves, and it's really slippy anyway. We're trying to use the slippiness, the treachery. I haven't really followed. I haven't really made that one work, have I? But it's you get the general idea. This is why Danny Röhl's getting pissed off, I think, with the lack of context when we do slip up this season. We're doing catch up. That's what we're doing, catch up. We're changing head coach. Hearts are changing an entire culture, a culture that's been built towards a Scottish Cup win every 14 years. All this means for me is that they need one freak doing. It makes sense that to catch up with themselves, to take a breath. They've got to get cuffed off somebody, and I hope it is. Even their defeats have been close this season. They've only lost 3 games in the league, all by a single goal. They went out the Scottish Cup and the League Cup on penalties to top flight sides. They've got what it takes. I think this is Walter Smith stuff from Hearts. Just never say die. Even when they get beat, it's close or it's last minute, like it was at St Mirren the other week. But they haven't been champions in my lifetime, and I'm old. Maybe not going to get much older. Friday the 13th, bowel cancer screening. They haven't been champions of Scotland for 66 years, Hearts. That and the fact that a draw suits them on Sunday, that can confuse them on Sunday. It's always best to know that you need a win. If you start getting at the back of your head that a draw will do you, it means they can end up with the one-off thumping that they're due, quite frankly. They've got no Cammy Devlin until March in midfield. They've got no Lawrence Shankland up front until the end of March. This is our best chance to beat them. This is our best chance on Sunday to beat Hearts, and we need to win. We need to win the league. I didn't think we needed to win on Sunday to ensure Danny Röhl stayed on the up and up in the eyes of the support going into the summer. You know, a Scottish Cup would do as a placeholder just now, considering the mess he took over in October. And we absolutely will not see the best, or should not expect the best, from Danny's squad until next weekend, until they've had their first full week off in like forever. And all remaining weekends, bar 1 or 2, I think post-split this season, are going to be free for Rangers. What a difference that's going to make. But Danny Röhl's reactions in his last few pressers, and of course the reaction he's getting from some of our supporters and the media, might mean that he needs this win just to keep the whole Rangers ship on the kind of straight and narrow. How do we do it? How do we beat Hearts? What's my starting 11? Hard enough to predict a starting 11 under Danny Röhl, even harder when he won't give us any injury information in the press conference. So it's just... Hearts are so good at corners and all set pieces. We're going to have to get Big Emi Fernandez back in there unless he's... This is all caveated by the player I'm saying should play might be one of the guys that's injured that Danny Röhl doesn't want to tell us about. But I think, you know, obviously with their height, we need to combat that. And Fernandez, I know CHERMITI scored the goal against Tynecastle with his foot, but Fernandez and CHERMITI being the only guys that have scored against Hearts this season, they're both 6'12", the two of them. Maybe that's a sign that they should both play. But he has to play. Emmanuel Fernandez has to play. Dujon Sterling has to play. Tav won't, as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be physical. It's going to be fast, and it increases the probability of Nadiri and CHERMITI starting. Nadiri and CHERMITI, who ended the game together the other night. Maybe they could. Well, they played together. Sorry, at some point, the two of them in the second half at Fir Park. Maybe the two of them could start this game. You don't know how he's going to go for it. Danny Röhl, come back and defend as well. Is it best to go up against a big, strong, a defence that's good in the air? Go up against them with the wee guys to wriggle about in between them. Skov Olsen to outskill them and curl balls around them. I don't know. I think everybody wants to see all 4 of our January, February signings on the pitch and Ant-Man. It probably won't happen, but even I, his greatest fan, will be upset if Jedi Gassama starts this game. I didn't know. I don't know if Skov Olsen is deemed match fit enough yet, but Ant-Man, Bajrami, anybody else plus Mikey Moore can take the wide attacking positions on Sunday. Gassama is knackered and becoming increasingly petulant. Wednesday's display alone, I think, screamed of someone who needs a rest. The young man, I don't know if he's actually upset that he didn't get a transfer either. I don't know how badly he wanted to get away from the club and we refused to sell him. But I think it's going to be 4-3-3. And I'm going to go at the middle of that. I'm going to have the Diamande, Raskin and Chukwueze midfield again. I know they underperformed the other night, but then who didn't? And I think I feel as if the understanding between Chukwani and Diamande, the manager would be truly negligent if he didn't see that as a possible base. And I think that's why he's played the three of them together the other night at Fir Park. Also because Motherwell have got a dominant midfield. They didn't do much to stop it, but few people have this season, few teams have this season. I think they're going to go in there as a 4-3-3. It's all none of them. Raskin, I nearly said Jack, as in Ryan Jack. That's because he's part. Him and Steve Davis, all the best at Blackburn. Steve Davis and Glenn Kamara. That three in midfield. They're giving me vibes of that. I loved that when we put the three of them across the midfield. I really did. And I'm getting vibes of that from Diamande, Raskin, and Chukwani. I think all of them can play 10 and 6 and 8. All of them can do it. Maybe Chukwani is maybe not as skilled at doing the 10 bit, but you've got that ability. So you can go from 4-3-3 to 4-2-3-1 when suits. And it's also, you have Chukwani, Diamande or Raskin sitting at 6, while one of the other two, or both of them, goes 8. And Diamande, we know he plays a really impressive 10 at times. I think they've got that variety, that opposite strength, that dynamism right at the centre there when they don't have Cammy Devlin. That needs to be in there. That's the first bit of the team we get in there. I think Diamande, Raskin and Chukwani. Jack Butland in goals. Dujon Sterling at right back. Fernandez and Suter as your centre halves. I'm assuming that Nasser Giga got picked the other night because of his pace against Mashwanisi, but I think it's got to be Sterling, Fernandez, Suter and Tour Romans. It's hard on Jaden Magoma, but he's actually now played the substitutes appearance against Queen's Park, where he had an assist straight away, proving his point, and then playing the game the other night. I think he's already gone well beyond the amount of games I expected him to play after I first saw Tour Romans, and I think Romans is taller. Romans is taller, he's more experienced. We need a bit of skill as well to play through Hearts. I think we can combat Hearts' physicality. They're a skillful team as well, Hearts. There's no getting away from it, man. They're a good football team. But I think we should play them at football and at war as well. And Tour Romans looks like the kind of guy that's capable of that. I hope he's match fit enough now. But I'm assuming he was rested the other night with this game in mind. So it's Sterling, Fernandez, Suter and Tour Romans at the back. And up front, or the front three, is Andrei Skov-Olsen. He's got to start. He's going to start this game. I wouldn't be stunned if he didn't. And I think Antman is a replacement. Antman's kind of first reserve, I think. Oliver Antman, he can come in for Skov-Olsen or Mikey Moore, on the understanding that Moore or Skov-Olsen will be coming on for Oliver Antman just after half time. But I think it's going to be, he'll start with Andrei Skov-Olsen, Ryan Nadiri and Mikey Moore. That's your kind of three up front. Nadiri is the centre forward. I think there's a strong possibility of the 4-4-2. Perhaps dropping one of that midfield three that I was talking about, and you have Nadiri and CHERMITI or Majowski. I'm always trying to get Majowski in there because I think Majowski, he's been a bit posted missing. The game's getting a bit physical. He's not got that physicality. But he's an artist. Sometimes in amongst all this, you need an artist. Hearts, they're probably going to sit in deep. Deeper than they would do at Tynecastle. Derek McInnes knows how to frustrate the Ibrox crowd. He knows what that's all about. So perhaps they won't open up as much. But if they want to play like champions, if they want to take it to us and come out a bit, then I would maybe Majowski's an option alongside Nadiri. They could be quite lethal, I think, as a front partnership. But colours to the mast, balls to the wall, etc. 4-3-3. Jack Butland in goals. Dujon Sterling, right back. Fernandez and Suter, your centre halves. Tour Romans at left back. Diamande, Raskin and Chukwani as a three across the midfield. Andrei Skov-Olsen, wideish right. Mikey Moore, wideish left. And Ryan Nadiri is the centre forward. That's my starting 11, and we're going to win 4-0. The score prediction is we will win 4-0. It's not right that the result, Rangers result on Sunday, is dependent on how Celtic got on Rugby Park, but I think it really is. I really think it is. It's a bit fragile just now, and this is it. But we are still. I know it seems like we've been rebuilding for ages, but we are rebuilding. There's no getting away from it. It still has to happen. There's a bit of fragility there. The head coach was looking a bit fragile in terms of his temper, at least in the pre-match presser. The supporters, a lot of supporters have got doubts already and are dying. They've got those doubts locked and loaded to express them at the game in a way that can only harm their own fucking team. But I think the support in general has garnered themselves, has taken a breather between Thursday and Friday and said, no, let's get right behind this team. But I think it would send Ibrox crazy. It sends into raptures in the best possible way if Celtic drop points at Rugby Park before we kick off. Celtic's game will be over, I think, at Rugby Park before we kick off against Hearts at Ibrox at 4:30. Shocking kick-off time for us, 4:30 on a Sunday. But it lets people get a bit more drink on board, and hopefully that's why we will need Celtic to have done something to just get the people who like to let rip, and I like to let rip myself, but only positively. It'll get them going as the teams come down the tunnel. We've got, Celtic are getting further back. We've got a chance to split away at the top with Hearts, really, get right close to them, get close to winning the league. If Celtic go out and scalp, and they've been allowed to practice on the Rugby Park surface with that game against Auchinleck, I'm like, how's that fair? If they go out and do to Kilmarnock what they should go out and beat Kilmarnock and probably beat them quite easily. But just like the thing, Stephen Welsh has scored the goal against us the other night, and there's Neil McCann and Billy Dodds with hopefully a Finlay Curtis hat-trick taking something off Kilmarnock at Rugby Park. I don't expect it, but if we do, I think if Celtic do as they should and beat Kilmarnock, I'll take us to win 2-1, but we're struggling. We are struggling. If I can't actually see us losing, which is dangerous, probably means we're going to get scalped. And if we do get beat, hell of a moment. I was there. Sop and Hibs finally won the Scottish Cup. I was there live, saw that in the flesh. It'll be quite a thing to see. Be there when Hearts effectively win the league for the first time in 66 years. And it's not guaranteed, obviously. Still a long, long way to go. But if Celtic drop points at Kilmarnock, I think we're winning this game by 2 or 3 at least. I think it will be such a great atmosphere. Hearts don't need the win. They're so unused to being in this situation. My prediction is at Rangers. I'm just going to, if I have to give you one prediction, my prediction is we're going to win 4-0. Yep, 4-0. We destroy, Hearts collapse, and Danny Röhl makes a total arse of himself in the post-match presser. Your mother! Your mutti! Your mutti! Runji! Tito Rice is nicht kaputt. Ich nicht in Lichten, your patter on Friday. Rangers Review and Daily Record and stuff like that. Ich nicht in Lichten. Please get it recht runje. Ausgezeichnet genau. Your ma. He's picking up the bits of the English along the way. Your ma. Bitte ein Beat. Joshua Barry. Run your Gesellschaft mit beschränkter Halftongue. Entschuldigung. And yes, I mean, can anybody think of a more romantic way to spend Valentine's weekend than watching our manager running around the media room, kind of shoving out-of-date chocolate Santas into his mouth and just kind of spitting them, flecking them through his nose and through his mouth right into the faces of the really horrible sexual taunts about the mothers of the assembled journalists, Scotland's football press corps, right into their collective faces, especially the ones who meant them absolutely no harm. I'm actually tearing up just imagining this. So it's 4-0 to us, and of course, if I'm right about that, it also means I've definitely got bowel cancer. Happy Valentine's, folks. Speak to you on Sunday after the game, if I'm spared.